This is the World Satsanga on the 27th of September 2014. Okay, so just to kick off then, the agenda was let the system settle down, which we're just doing, and this particular session was to talk about the mechanics of how we incarnate. And actually, when I wrote that down, I didn't realise how big it was, because since then I've done a lot of work on the current book I'm working on, which is called the End Dialogue, where I'm communicating with my late wife Anne to understand how we do incarnate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it from the start very slowly, and hopefully give you an understanding of the process. Now, this is going to be a summary rather than in depth. So I apologise for missing anything out, because there's information here which is not specifically understood by some of the other texts that are available from other spiritual authors or leaders. But my understanding is, of course, that we all have a true energetic self that we're part of. The true energetic self is what we sometimes call the higher self, or the oversoul. The oversoul, if you work in the quantum healing field, or the Godhead, if you are a scholar of the Hindu texts. They all mean the same thing. In essence, what we truly are is a much bigger being, and the part that animates the human form or other incarnate vehicles is basically an aspect of that, what we call the soul, if you want to call it that. And that is projected down from this true energetic self and placed within a human form, so that the true energetic self, by putting a small part of itself into a vehicle that allows it to experience the lowest frequencies of the multiverse, can experience a level of accelerated evolution. Now, what happens is that we, in essence, are individualized from our true energetic self. The true energetic self itself, of course, is individualized from the source, and it was created by the source, just as the source was created by the origin. But what happens is that the true energetic self, in its attempt to experience evolution in an accelerated rate, desires to place parts of itself in the lowest frequencies of the multiverse, because the levels of interaction there, because of the low frequencies and the difficulty in working in this environment, create a level of accelerated evolution. And so it decides, at the very start, it decides to place certain energies and a part of its own sentience into a vehicle to allow it to experience the low frequencies. Now, most true energetic selves now have got various different energies and various different individualized sentience that are well experienced in the act of incarnation. But initially, it's simply a case of separating out a level of energies, assigning part of its sentience to it, and then projecting it into the energies that we call the human body. And I'll come into a little bit of detail into that in a moment. But as these different aspects or souls or shards, and I'll come into the shards a bit later, start to become more and more experienced in the incarnation, they start to gain their own level of specialism. And so when they return to the energetic, and they go through various different types of, shall I call it, debriefing, which allows the true energetic self and the aspect to understand how well it performed in the incarnate condition and how well its guides and helpers worked in terms of how they're able to communicate with it and make it change or change direction or experience different things. It's reabsorbed back into the true energetic self. I'm going to call it a TESS for short, TES. Now those aspects of energy and sentience, they assign together, even though they're part of this bigger ball of energy, I'm going to use the word ball of energy here because it's the best way of explaining it. And they become part of a collective consciousness. Each of them has a level of experience, and it stays within the energies and the sentience of the test, gaining more and more experience whilst also being part of the test. So what we get is, at a certain point, is a true energetic self, or a test that has up to 12 aspects or souls that all have their own individualized sentience, which is part of the test's sentience. It's not separate. It's separate, but it's together. So it's separately together. This is a series of words that popped up a lot in my work, and they all form part of the overall sentience and energies of the test. And therefore, this makes sense of the words used in quantum healing. The oversoul. The oversoul is the overall soul, and the test is the overall soul. So when I discovered this, I was quite delighted, actually. There was some level of consistency between the work that Dolores had done and what I'm discovering. I wasn't quite aware that they called it the oversoul until I found out this information, so I was pleased from that perspective. So, taking on board that the true energetic self has these aspects of itself that are sentience, or smaller versions of sentience that are assigned to certain energies within itself, and that they have various levels of specialism, it seems reasonable to suggest that the test will assign a particular aspect or soul that has an energy and sentience into a certain type of environment and a certain type of human form, or not a human form as the case may be, could be another incarnate vehicle within the rest of the physical universe, to experience a certain experience or type of experiences which only it could experience and work with those experiences in an efficient way. So we find that these aspects, of which we are one of them, are assigned to different experiences because we're expert, so to speak, or parts of the test which are expert in experiencing certain environments and needing to respond in certain ways as a result of those environments. Now, before I go any further, I need to remind people who haven't participated in the Satsangas or listened to the Satsangas, that the aspect itself of the soul can also project up to 12 smaller versions of itself into different incarnate vehicles, and these would go through this an almost identical but smaller process that the larger soul, if you want to call it that, experiences or works with when it's part of the true energetic self, or when it goes through the process of starting to incarnate or disincarnate when the physical form is demised. So it's exactly the same, but in a smaller sense. So when the true energetic self decides to use a certain aspect of itself or soul to experience a certain experience in a certain form, that aspect has to do its homework, so to speak, on where it's going, what it's going to do, which other aspects or shards it's going to interact with, and how it's going to interact with them to make sure that it itself is going to experience, learn and evolve, but not only that they themselves also experience, learn and evolve through interaction with the aspect. And more importantly, they work with something that I'm told to call a what-if scenario within the Akashic records, which are a memory set that's within the energies associated with the origin and are therefore part of the overall structure of a source entity, in our case our source entity, to analyse how this works, when it's going to work, and how it affects others downstream, because there's a huge amount of downstream involvement with other aspects or other souls as a result of what we do. So if you think of it in terms of, if we involve 2 or 3 people in something, and they experience something, and then they pass that experience on to 2 or 3 others, and they do the same thing, it multiplies exponentially towards the end, or certainly in a geometric way, or logarithmic way, at the end of it. And one of the things I'm finding out about what happens if we terminate the incarnation early is that if that's the case, and all of these downstream functions are also terminated, there has to be lots of work done by the guides and helpers to try to put all these other incarnate entities back onto track so that they can continue to experience that which they were supposed to experience as a result of the interactions with the aspect that's created the demise of the physical body early. So, getting back to the Akashic, within the Akashic, it's understood how this particular incarnation is going to happen. They understand which aspects they're going to interface with, what environment they're going into, that being the family, the location on the earth, or another part of the physical universe, for instance, and how it could operate within certain tolerances to achieve what it's supposed to achieve, and how the downstream functions are going to work with it, and the accuracy of the downstream functions working in terms of how they interact with others when the aspect itself is no longer involved. So this is all understood and it's recognised. Then the hard bit comes, so to speak. The aspect will have chosen, along as a result of the work of the true entity itself, or the test, which particular environment is going to incarnate into, and which particular human form, or in the case of the rest of the physical universe, which other form, that's not specifically human, it's going to incarnate into. From a whole bunch of different reasons. One is genetic and how robust the form is, and is it going to last long enough to be able to, for the aspect to be able to finish its role and its work. And so it starts to look at the different vehicles that could be available to it through the Akashic, because the Akashic uses a function of event space, which isn't limited to linear time as we know it. Well, time doesn't exist, so it's linearity of experience, should I say, rather than time. And so it chooses, as a result of this, a family and a form, a body to work with. Now, the next thing that the entity does, or the aspect does, is start to link with that form. And that means that it needs to separate itself out from the test, or should I say the test separates it out, because it's the larger part, and starts to assign it to the energies associated with that human form as a result of procreation, the physical procreation of the human form, and the various different types of procreation, or not as the case may be, in the rest of the physical universe. And so it assigns itself to the energies. Now, there are 10 frequency levels associated with the human form. 7 of which are known, and they're also assigned or predominantly represented by the chakras, which are energy centres that the human form uses to pull energy in throughout to work. But in essence, when the aspect is projected down, there is something called the Hara line which is created. And the Hara line is a link between the true entity itself and the aspect itself. So if you think of it, it's like a cord. It's not the silver cord we know with the astral travel, it's another type of cord, another type of link. It allows the communication between the true entity itself and the aspect to continue, albeit in a limited sense, while the aspect is assigned to these energies. And so this Hara line comes into the human form and attaches itself to the 7 different layers, energy layers associated with the gross physical and the spiritual physical. But above that, there's 3 other layers. There's the 3 energy layers that those of you who've done the Traversing the Frequencies workshops will know that we have to move ourselves through before we can actually project our consciousness beyond our physicality. And these are classified as step-down energies. They allow the energies, the high-frequency energies of the aspect, which are the same as the test, to step down and therefore be compatible with those lower frequencies associated with the spiritual-physical and the gross physical. Now, the spiritual-physical energies are, in real terms, the astral level, which is associated with the heart chakra, the etheric template, which is associated with the throat chakra, the celestial body, which is associated with the third eye, and the catharic template, which is associated with the crown chakra. The gross physical are the base chakra or root chakra, associated with the etheric body, the sacral chakra, which is associated with the emotional layer, and the solar chakra, which is associated with the mental body. These all have been quoted in lowest frequency upwards. So the etheric body, emotional layer, mental body, astral level, etheric template, celestial body and catharic template are the ascension of the frequencies and the, in essence, the auric layers associated with the human form as well. And so as we go down, as the aspect is projected into the physical, or the spiritual physical, it starts to get associated with each of these different templates. And as it does so, it creates the gross physical. Now, the etheric body is the ultimate creation of the gross physical, because that is the lowest frequency associated with the human form before you start to get the manifestation of the gross physical. But each of them is again a step down, where the one creates the other. So without the creation of the etheric catharic template, the celestial body couldn't be created. And similarly, the etheric template, which is the fifth level, couldn't be created without the etheric body or the catharic template being created, which are the sixth and seventh. So the energies associated with the aspects start to slowly come down and associate themselves with and link themselves with these different energies or different frequency levels that are used to create the human form. And once that's in there, it starts to create true animation of that form, right from the point where the aspect is assigned to the embryo within the womb. And so we start to get this situation where a body is created, it grows, it lives, and it starts to get personality, because the aspect is associated with it through its link with the Hara line. Now, when that body is born and it becomes an individualised unit, born away from the mother, it still is pretty much undefended, and so it needs to stay close to the mother, because its own auric layers, although they're there, they aren't particularly well developed, and so they're not capable of defending the infant or the aspect within the infant from any of the energetic attacks that can happen as a result of ill feeling or negative thoughts directed at it from other incarnate beings, or some of those other stray spiritual physical energies that can create what we call astral entities that are created either by human thought or are created as a result of those energies being, shall I say, individualised and clumped together for long enough to create their own intelligence, and they start to look for, shall I say, hosts to work with them, so they can get energies from them, so that they can continue to exist. Okay. I've just lost Marnie, so I'm going to just see if I can get Marnie back online again. Okay. One moment. Okay, good luck, she'll come back. Let's have a look at it all. Okay. So this basically is how we incarnate in a rough sense. And on top of that, of course, is the demise of the human form, which is another route forwards. And although I'm not working on that right now in terms of presenting it as a subject for the Satsanga, I might well do so, because this is how we start. I might do the demise and how that works as well from our side. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this before I move on to the questions and answers that people have submitted? No. Okay. Let's see if I can find Marnie again. So I've lost Marnie. Just trying to get Marnie back en route. No, lost her. I appear to have lost her, whether she's... No. Are you back online, Marnie?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, that's why I couldn't find you. Excellent. Okay, so that basically explains, in a nutshell, and it's not in depth, I understand that, as to how we start to get associated with the human form and the mechanics surrounding it. Okay. If there's any questions on it, I'll just repeat that question. If there's any questions on it, I'm happy to answer them. Other than that, we can go into some of the questions that people have given us. Now, I know Chris has given us some questions, and the Ula's also given some questions as well. Okay, I was trying to find those questions from Chris, because actually Chris sent one, and gladly, it was quite an easy one to look at actually. Let's look at Chris's first. He said the three energies that make creation human speak, are they male or female or child? As a prophet said that this is the feminine Anza that carries the experiences to the source. Well, from what I've just described, there's more than three energies. There's 10 energies, or 10 frequency levels. And actually, relatively speaking, they are genderless. There is no gender associated with the energies that make the human form. That's other than how the various different templates resulting in the use and generation of the etheric template are used to assign the functions of the DNA through the RNA. So actually one of Ula's questions may well answer that question in a better way. But in essence, there's no gender associated with these energies. It's purely a state of programming that allows the spiritual templates to program the physical manifestation of those templates to become male or female or neuter, as the case may be. And I use the word neuter for those individuals who are born who are not particularly gender assigned and flip from one gender to the other. And that's quite a normal thing actually for people to experience that. Okay, so if that answers your question there, Chris, I'm just going to go into those questions, because actually I think one of those might answer Chris's question in a lot better, in a much better way. And actually, interestingly enough, that's the first question. What are the mechanics of creating the physical body from an etheric template? Are we a holographic projection, or what are we? Well, the etheric template is the, if you like, it's the matrix, the energy matrix that contains all of the information from the previous 6 templates in terms of their different frequential levels, in terms of their fineness and the data contained within them, that allows the physical to be created. So when the physical body is created, it's actually, should I say, a gross physical mirror image of that which should be created by the etheric, because the etheric is the result of the others all having their functions together. So the etheric then programs the gross physical through the RNA to allow the DNA to then program the cell proteins via the gross physical version of RNA. I'm going to repeat this because it's quite a thought process that the RNA has 2 functions. Actually, it's quite interesting because when I first wrote a presentation on this back in 2011, and my wife, who was alive at the time, said, this is radical, it's going to cause a few problems. And I said, yes, I know. But as we were researching into it later, we found that actually scientists have found that there's a dual function of RNA, and there are various different forms of RNA as well. So that was a very delightful piece of research that we did to understand that. But in essence, what happens is the RNA and the DNA has a spiritual and a physical function. I want to say spiritual to represent the high energetic aspect of it, rather than the lower energetic, which is gross physical. So the spiritual function of RNA is to take the information from the etheric template and communicate that to the RNA. To the DNA. I'll start again. So the RNA, the function of the RNA is to take the information from the etheric template and program it into the DNA. The DNA then broadcasts that information through the gross physical aspect of the RNA, and the gross physical aspect of the RNA then transports it to cell proteins and stem cells and T cells and all these different things, and they then go away. These cells, once they receive this programming, then go away and become liver cells, heart cells, eye cells, bone cells, muscle cells, skin cells, and all these different things. And when it's created properly, and I can see a question come from Marnie instantaneously about this and about dysfunctional stuff, that information is then broadcast back through the gross physical function of the RNA to the DNA, and then through to the spiritual function of the RNA back to the etheric to say it's completed properly. And to head Marnie up at the pass, when you get cancers growing, the dysfunctional energies are such that they send all the right energies. They send all the right communication back. So a cancer is basically a Trojan, like a Trojan horse or a Trojan virus on a computer. It says all the right things to all the right levels of interconnectivity, and says, I am a liver cell. I function as a liver cell. I've been programmed as a liver cell, and therefore I send back the information to say I am a liver cell. But in actual fact, it's only the communication that tells everything else is a liver cell. Its actual function, which is masked, is diverse or disharmonious from the true functionality, and so we get cancers growing because the cellular multiplication is such that these cells continue to say I'm a liver cell, but in actual fact they're not. They're something else. But they are so good at disguising themselves. Their energies are so good that there's no disharmony felt, and so the body gets taken over by this dysfunctional gross physical condition. Okay, so hopefully that starts to give us a bit of an idea of the mechanics of creating a physical body from the etheric. Second is, how are mental or physical disabilities created within the template? Well, I'm going to answer the sort of the second part of this question first, actually, because it might help with the first part. Physical disabilities are a result of spiritual dysfunction or thought processes that are in, shall I say, variance to the true function of the aspect. What that means is that they are disharmonious. And so if we have a situation where we have a belief system, for instance, and that belief system is damaged in some way through experience or through personal thought process or belief system as a result of an extrapolated viewpoint, then the communicative condition of the different templates results in a set of frequencies that are disharmonious to those frequencies associated with the gross physical. And so they reprogram the gross physical, and the gross physical ends up with what I can only describe as being mutant reproductive systems, where the cells and other parts of the human form start to reproduce in a way that is outside of the normal spiritual-physical and genetic programming associated with the normal growth pattern of the gross physical, relying on the information from the etheric template, which of course is a function of the total work of the other templates, which are the catharic, celestial, etheric template, astral level, mental body, emotional layer. The etheric body being the lowest frequency. And so so basically it's usually created by disharmonious thought processes, which cause this this level of, shall I say, misprogramming or errors in the programming associated with the spiritual physical aspect of what we are, and that gets passed on to the gross physical. Okay. Next one is, how exactly does RNA get programmed into spirits? Oh, we've talked about this just actually. So, in essence, the RNA, or to repeat this, the RNA has a dual function. It's both spiritual or energetic, and it's gross physical or lower frequency energetic. And it has two roles. The first role is to interface with the etheric body, which is the lowest frequency. The etheric body, of course, is associated with the base chakra or the root chakra, it's sometimes called. And it takes that programming and passes this on to the DNA. And the DNA then passes on the gross physical aspect of the programming via the gross physical aspect of the RNA to the cell proteins or the stem cells or T cells, the case may be. And then the body grows in that particular way. So it's quite a clean way of working. But it actually doesn't interface with the auric layers per se, more of one of the auric layers, because the etheric body is a function of all of the other auric layers overlaying to each other. So the etheric body is the product of the other auric layers together. So rather than being an interface to all the auric layers, it's an interface to the one auric layer, which is the etheric body. Okay. So the next one is, how malleable are defective or mutated genes to epigenetic manipulation? For example, what is meant by the tree of life and how does it change when our chakras change? Oh, I've missed that, haven't I? I've read half of question 5 together. I'll start again. How malleable are defective or mutated genes to the epigenetic manipulation? For example, gene mutations that predispose a person to Alzheimer's disease or breast cancer or other diseases. Okay. For those of you listening to this on the recording, I'm not actually. Others presenting the information on Skype, but I'm looking at it on the email. So I've learned a lesson there. Maybe I should look at the Skype text instead. Right. Okay. So what they're really saying there is, can mutated genes be corrected? In effect. So can a gene or can a cell or any form of DNA that creates a cancer or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease or any form of other disease, can they be manipulated so that they start to function in the way they're supposed to function, so that there isn't a cancer, or there isn't a heart disease, or there isn't a glaucoma, or there isn't cataracts, or there isn't Alzheimer's, or there isn't Parkinson's disease? And the answer to that is, ultimately, they have to be reprogrammed within the energetic templates associated with the human form, starting from the top down. So this has to be programmed from the catharic template downwards, and then so that the celestial body, the etheric template, the astral level, the mental body, the emotional layer, and the etheric body are all containing the right information that suggests that these genes or even the cells are operating incorrectly. On top of that, if they are operating incorrectly, there's two things need to happen. One, those genes need to be told to self-demise or go through the process of apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, and or new cells that replace them need to be created that are correcting their functionality and their ability to interact with other cells or other genetic conditions. So, if we, as energy healers, or other forms of healing, can affect the 7 energetic levels that are associated with the gross physical, which is the first 3, that being the base, that being the base chakra and the etheric body, the sacral chakra and the emotional layer, and the solar chakra and the mental body, and also the spiritual and physical levels, that melting pot that's between the gross physical and the energetic, which is the heart chakra and the astral level, the throat chakra and the etheric template, the third eye and the celestial body, and the crown chakra and the etheric template. Once they're all modified, then the gross physical will follow suit. And so we can, if we understand this, and we can work with this from a healing perspective, we can start to reverse the generation of these defective or mutated genes, and they start to die off naturally, and they're replaced by good, fully functioning cells and genes that are exactly what the human body should be having, and rather than these genetic mutations. In essence, if we were to look at it from an energy healing perspective, when we work on the different levels, and we work on regenerating organs, when I was working on the Brennan healing science that my teacher Helen Stott taught me about all those years ago, we had to effect change on each of those levels naturally. So if you think about it, if a healer understands this, irrespective of how fast or slow they are, whether they do them individually or whether they do them collectively together, the energy healer should be able to eradicate a cancer or another disease such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's purely by energy healing. The problem is that we get as a healer is that sometimes these illnesses are supposed to be experienced. They're part of the life plan of the incarnate entity, and as a result of that, they may be the way that particular incarnate entity leaves the incarnation, and so we would not be able to heal those conditions because we are acting against the overall life plan and the downstream functions of that life plan. So there are times when we as healers should be able to heal somebody, but in essence we can't because we're going against the life plan, and we need to recognise that and work with that. Chris Woods is you're asking me this, Chris, have I cured cancer? I've worked with people who've got it, and one particular individual in Brussels who managed to survive quite well. And others just asking, can we learn to self-heal these genes? And the answer is yes, we can, but again, it depends upon our life plan. So we can heal ourselves if we're supposed to heal ourselves. But if our life plan is designed to say we need to experience this and survive, then we'll heal them. If our life plan says we're supposed to experience these and then leave the planet, then we'll leave the planet. Okay. And then Marnie's just said, this explains why disease are managed and not cured, at least with current Western medicine. Affecting change at the etheric level will not stop the current diseased state from continuing on the trajectory of disease. Those cells that have to be removed and from the system, and the system has to be reprogrammed. With this in mind, how can one tell when we're experiencing pain from our own need or plan? And then Johnson said, can life plans be changed? Now that's a question. I'll answer Marnie's first. How can one tell when we're experiencing? We intuitively know, Marnie. We know when we're supposed to go with a certain disease, or whether a certain disease is going to be there for some time. I recently had news that an old friend of Anna myself had finally departed the planet, and she died of lung cancer. Now, she had various different cancers over the, shall I say, nearly 25 years that I knew her. And so it was a case of she was always surviving and beating the cancer, because basically what she was experiencing was long-term illness, and that was what her particular incarnation was all about, was long-term illness. And eventually she got to the point where she'd experienced it all, didn't need to do it anymore, and the cancer was finally allowed to succeed, and she died in bed, quite naturally, I think, without really experiencing much pain at all. I think she died in a quite a peaceful way. Then John's comment is, can life plans be changed? Oh, somebody else asked me this question some time ago, John, and the answer is there has to be some serious negotiation, and that level of negotiation is obviously between the aspect and the Trinity itself, the guide and the helpers, and all those other guides and helpers that are working with other aspects that us as an aspect will interface with, either directly or indirectly, and affect their incarnate existences with during their particular incarnations. So it's a big change. If we change our life plan, there has to be lots of downstream functions that need to change because we're still here, because we can affect different things. So the answer is yes, it can be changed, but it's hard work. There needs to be a significant level of justification to allow it to happen, and that includes individuals who leave the planet early. If they leave the planet early through the various different ways of euthanasia, for instance, or other names used for that, they also create downstream problems. So there's the same level of work associated with that, to correct those learning or experience opportunities that would have been lost as a result of the early demise. Also need to be effective if that individual stays here, because they're still here. So they create interconnections that shouldn't be there. So to say it again, yes, we can change our life plans, but the background work to support it is immense, actually. It's been told the word more than immense. You can't believe how big it is, because it also affects all the different event spaces that are created by us as well. So it's not just in a simultaneous universal environment, it's in a parallel universal environment as well. We have to consider it. So it's hard work. And let's just ask the final question here, question 5. As we evolve, at what points do we consolidate the function of some of our chakras? Right, there's a second question as part of this. Actually, we don't consolidate any of our chakras unless we're ascending the frequencies. And I have noticed one or two individuals who will remain nameless, but who are light workers of some significant effect, whose frequencies are such that they are moving up the frequencies, and therefore their bottom 3 chakras, that's the base or root chakra, the sacral chakra and the solar chakra, are consolidating into a single chakra, because their energies are predominantly being represented in a higher frequency rather than lower frequencies. And so it's a case of when we start to function more in the 4th frequency level, which some of us are starting to do now anyway, we're starting to see things or experience things as a result of this, then we'll start to have those 3 chakras consolidate into one specific chakra associated with the gross physical, rather than 3. And the next bit is, what is meant by the tree of life, and does it change when our chakras change? No, there's no effect of the tree of life with the chakras. The tree of life is basically, actually we touched on this, but I didn't call it the tree of life. The tree of life is the downstream functions of what we do whilst we incarnate on all the different event space levels, or event spaces that are created as a result of our decision process. So think of it in terms of fractalisation. A tree has a main trunk. That main trunk is our main direction in our existence. And then the branches off are those different decisions we could take to go in certain different directions. And then there's other smaller branches and smaller branches and smaller branches and smaller branches. And these are the, if you like, the diversification of us in event space as a result of our different decision processes. And of course they all consolidate back into one again later. So the tree of life is really how we would look if we could see ourselves in terms of in terms of a line of existence. If you have a line going straight up, then that's the trunk. If these lines branch off to the side, then there are other existences that we're experiencing simultaneously, or should I say in a parallel condition. And they keep branching off and branching off and branching off. And when we get to evolutionary dead ends, one particular branch might collapse back into the next branch, or back to the trunk again. And so our tree of life grows its limbs, grows its arms, grows or should I say its branches, and then those branches disappear as we start to go down those evolutionary dead ends, and we start to recognise them as evolutionary dead ends. Okay. So that's another question. Some ascribe the tree of life as symbolism to chakras, to planets in our solar system, to galaxies, etc. Is that rubbish? What I talked about is the personal tree of life. That's relative to us. There is, of course, a tree of life associated with the with the vehicles that we use. Okay. So in general, there's a tree of life associated with the human vehicle. There'll be a tree of life associated with other vehicles that are in other parts of this particular galaxy. Let's call them Pleiadians or Arcturians or Sirians, whichever way you want to call them. They are also affected by their own particular civilization, or should I say, incarnate vehicle-based tree of life. And then you go beyond our galaxy to the countless thousands or millions of other galaxies that are part of the physical universe, and you get the same thing appearing there. So it's based upon how we collectively evolve, as it were, whilst incarnate. And then Marnie's saying, like the Celtic tree of life, roots, branches both merge, so it's a fractal loop. Very good. That explains it very nicely. So if you think of it in terms of the Celtic tree of life, which roots and branches branch out and then merge, so you get this fractal loop, and that's a good example. I like that, Marnie. Thank you very much. I might use that later. Okay. So is there any more questions on this? It's been quite in depth so far, although I tried to keep the mechanics of how we incarnate pretty summarised. And actually, although I did have another subject for November's Satsanga, I might put down the mechanics of the demise of the physical form. So we got the other side of it as well. So I might do that. Yeah. Before we start, Ella's saying, does the Pleiadian tree of life have fewer chakras than ours? Right. We have to think in terms of frequency rather than body type here. If the body type exists in a higher frequency naturally, let's say the 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th frequencies, rather than the first 10 as we do, then the answer is yes, they will have fewer chakras because they will only have a single chakra, so to speak, to represent the gross physical, because they've only got one particular frequency level associated with the gross physical. If they are existent in the 11th and 12th frequencies, then they won't have chakras at all as we know them, because they don't have bodies that are gross, spiritual or physical, or even gross physical for that matter. So we're looking at physical vehicles or bodies that are in the first 7 frequencies that need chakras. In essence, if we exist in any vehicle from the 8th upwards, there won't be a chakra associated with it, because it's not existing on the gross physical levels or anywhere near them. If we existed purely in the 4th upwards, the 4th frequency up to the 10th, then we wouldn't have a gross physical chakra at all. We might even start to consolidate the heart and the throat chakra together. But basically, if a Palladian was existing in the same physical environment that we are in the physical universe, they would have the same number of chakras as we have. If they are existing in a higher frequency, then they would have the number of chakras associated with the level of frequency that they're existing in. So it could be reduced by 1, it could be reduced by 2 or 3. Okay. So, unless anybody else has any other questions, I think we should go into the meditation. Now, I was going to have a repeat of last meditation where we connect with Source. But what I'm going to do instead of it is we're going to repeat the meditation where we heal somebody, or we can heal an area. Okay, I'm very aware that there's a lot of conflict happening in the Middle East again, and although I was drawn towards healing that particular area, I'm thinking I've been picking up all afternoon that there's plenty of people within the Satsanga who have either family members or friends or friends of friends who specifically need healing. So what we're going to do is to do a healing instead, where we're all working together towards that healing. And then probably in the next Satsanga, which will be on the 8th of November, because I've got lots of other things that are clashing at the moment with the Satsanga, including an extended holiday break. I might include that in there, because it might be more appropriate to put the healing in then than it is now. Okay, so if we're all okay with this, I think mine is just writing something at the moment before we start. Okay, Marnie, no problem. Thanks for taking part, and don't forget you're part of us anyway, and you can join in this part of the recording, and as a result of that you enter the event space. So we'll include you anyway. How's that? Energetically. Okay. So let's get into the meditative state. So what I'd like you to do is to sit. If you're sitting in a straight back chair, then that's fine. If not, try to sit as straight as possible with your feet flat on the ground and your palms uppermost on your thighs, with the upper part of the thighs where the thighs meet the lower body, and your back straight and your eyes closed, and your closed eyes focused on the area of the origin of the third eye, which is in between the eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose. And we'll just get ourselves into that energetic state. And then what I want you to do is either by using the mentally spoken word to create the same intention, or use visualization to position yourself in a room, a building somewhere, for instance, where we're in a corridor, a white corridor. We usually use the white corridor, so we'll continue to use this. And the left-hand wall and the right-hand wall of this white corridor doesn't have any doors at all. But right at the end of this corridor, maybe 50 meters or 50 yards away, we find a single door. So we start to walk down towards this single door. When we finally get there, we open the door, and then we turn around and close the door behind us. And inside this room, which is a white room with 4 walls, of course, and a roof, and a ceiling and a floor, you see me sitting down on one of 3 chairs. I'm in the middle of these 3 chairs. And so you can either come to my right hand side or my left hand side and sit down by the side of me. And if you're on my left hand side, you can use your right hand to hold my left hand. And if you're on my right hand side, you can use your left hand to hold my right hand. And while we're here, you can then start to think of the other participants. There's Marnie, who's with us energetically, Terry, Marita, Adriana, Atso, Chris, RJ, Ula, Yvonne, Lily and John, and all the others who are participating in the event space that they'll create, that is created by us, but they will create when they listen to this recording, are all connected to us all in a circle. So although there's just you on one of my sides, on the other side there's other people, and we're all holding hands together. So everybody's got somebody holding their left hand with somebody's right hand, and everybody's got their right hand holding somebody's left hand. And so we create this circle around ourselves where we're all connected together. And so we're all connected together with a view of healing somebody who we particularly think needs healing. Or if you feel a place needs healing, such as the Syrian conflict right now, you can place an image of the topography or the map of Syria, for instance. But I'm going to do that in the next session, so we can leave that if you wish. But if you feel there's somebody who particularly needs healing, who would benefit from the synergetic effect of us all working in meta concert together, where we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 of us, so it's 12 times 12, it's equal to 144, because Marnie is still here in the energetic, in her intention, although physically she's not connected at the moment. We are creating quite a healing condition. And so I want you to think about either creating the person that needs to be healed, either with your visualization process or your mentally spoken word. Because both of them could use our intention to put that person or the energies of that person in the center of this circle of individuals who are all sitting down holding each other's hand to create this synergetic effect to heal who we want to have healed in the center. And so in real terms, there'll be a number of individuals all overlaid on each other who are all benefiting from this particular healing. And every one of them will be getting the full synergetic effect of the energies that we're projecting towards them for healing. Okay? So it doesn't get watered down, irrespective of how many people we put in the center of the circle. And so now I want you to imagine that you're getting energy, or visualize that you're getting energy coming down from above you, from a void of space above you, that you're pulling in source entity energy, pure God energy, down from the surrounding environment into your crown chakra. That this energy is coming into you through your crown chakra. And then you project it out through your heart chakra into the heart chakra of this individual who needs the healing. And so we sit here, all of us, with energies coming in through to our crown chakras. This energy looks like it's a small thread of energy that's actually a small vortex, if you want to call it that. Small long vortex going into our crown chakra of white and silver and golden, irradiating, pulsating, rotating energy with flecks of silver and gold and white within it as well. This is pure source entity energy pure healing energy coming into our crown chakra, going down our spinal plexuses and coming out to the heart chakra and being directed to this person who needs the healing. And so we have the effect of 144 individuals concentrating on healing the individuals, that's all of the individuals who we've placed in the centre of our healing circle. Pure source entity energy coming in through our crown chakra and going out to our heart chakra, into the heart chakra of this individual who needs healing. So we'll stay here for a moment, just concentrating on the flow of this energy coming into our crown chakra and going into our heart. If you want to, you can imagine your breath being associated with it. So as you breathe in, the energy comes in through your crown chakra, and as you breathe out, the energy goes out through your heart chakra. Breathe in, energy comes into the crown chakra. Breathe out, energy goes out through the heart chakra. In through the crown chakra, out through the heart chakra. In and out. In and out. In and out. And I'll let you continue to count your own energies in and out. Know that whatever you do, it'll be in complete harmony with the ins and outs of all the other members of this healing circle. Just concentrate on the flow of energy, on the breathing in that goes into the crown chakra, and the breathing out, it goes out through the heart chakra. And we'll stay here for a few minutes longer. I want to make it worthwhile energetically. Actually, time-based healing is not an issue. Whether the healing time is 5 minutes or 50 minutes, it makes no difference. It's the intention of the healing that's being broadcast and the desire of the person receiving the healing to be healed that counts. The energy comes in through the crown chakra and out through the heart chakra. We breathe in, we breathe out. We breathe in, the energy comes into the crown chakra. We breathe out, the energy goes out through the heart chakra. Actually, any form of breathing-based meditation is called pranayama, which is a yogic breathing technique. And you can use it to heal yourself and to let energies move around yourself. Just concentrate on the person that needs healing. And if you wish to focus on that particular illness, you can also do that as well. But know that just focusing on them and wanting them to be healed will naturally focus on their areas of illness or ailment. It will naturally focus on their energetic disharmonies and make them harmonious. And so now we've created the healing desired from ourselves on our family and friends or associates. The intention to be healed is programmed into their energetic templates, as we've been discussing in the earlier part of this Satsanga. So all of their 7 templates now contain the intention to operate correctly in a harmonious condition, and therefore allow the healing or the correction of the function of those organs or bodily structures, blood, muscles, skin, in the correct way. We can now remove ourselves from this healing circle. But more importantly, we can make this happen automatically whilst we're not there. So use your mentally spoken words or your intention or visualization to show the energies that are coming into your crown chakra moving away from your crown chakra and then moving towards the crown chakra of the person that you're healing. So they're continuously connected to the healing energies of the source directly, rather than using yourself as a channel. And so they start to heal themselves rather than us healing them, because they are also connected to source in this way. And so what we see now is within our circle, our 12 individuals, we see these energy lines, these little vortices that are coming into our crown chakras, all moving towards the crown chakra of the person we have assigned to be healed within this circle. So irrespective of how many there are and where they are, they all start to get these 12 energy lines going into them. So they're constantly getting these 12 times 12 functions in terms of how our synergetic effect works when we're working in meta-concert. When we're working with the collective intention of healing somebody together. And so with this energy moved away from ourselves, we can retract the energies coming to our heart chakra. It's no longer necessary. And so the energy starts to move back into our heart chakra. So we just see us in a circle around the individual or individuals we're healing, and the energies coming from the source that appear from nowhere above the crown chakra of our patient, so to speak, are just filtering into this patient in 12 separate lines, using the synergetic effect of all 12 of us working together. And so with the knowledge that we are continually healing the person we wanted healed, even when we're not thinking about them, we can start to think about removing ourselves from the circle that we're in. And so individually, we're either on my left or my right, holding my left hand with your right hand, or my right hand with your left hand. And so, to finish the work, you can let go of either my left hand or my right hand, and stand up from your chair, and make your way back to the door in the white room, and open the door, and walk through the threshold and close the door behind you. And walk back to that start point that you found yourself in this white corridor. When you find this start point, you know that you're now in a position which is equal to your physical location on Earth, where you're currently sitting down with your eyes closed, concentrating on my words. So now you can very slowly come back into the room that you're in. You can open your eyes, and if you've got some, take a drink of water just to help ground you. And just reflect for a moment on the immense amount of work you've done to heal the individual you put in the circle. And we thank you and all the others as part of the circle for working together for the collective healing that has been bestowed upon these people, and the fact that they're continuing to experience healing automatically as well, by accepting the energy, the healing energies of the source directly into the crown chakra. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this particular Satsanga. As I say, the next one is in November, because I'm on holiday for 3 weeks, and I've got the Saturday I'm back, I've got another commitment, so I'm going to try and push it out so there's a little bit of a gap in between this one and the next one, but that pushes us into the second week of November, and then the next one in December will be the 13th of December, but I'll advise you about later. So thank you all very much for your personal time and your personal dedication and your dedication to help others. It's fantastic. Thank you very much for being here. You're all an inspiration. Believe me, you're all an inspiration. And we wish that there's more of you on the earth. So thank you very much. And have a good night or a good morning or a good afternoon. Thank you, everybody.
Did you see the aliens in Crete?